Hey everyone, welcome to this video. Sean Smith here from PPCAMSaccelerator.com, and I want to talk about Amazon PPC performance weekends versus weekdays. So how do they perform on weekends versus weekdays? And I'm gonna go through this data set, what it is, and some conclusions I came up with. But before we get started, if you don't mind, please click that like button. I know I ask for it every time, but it really does help with the YouTube algorithm. So just take 1 second to click like for me. All right, so you see here we got some data. So here's what I did. I'll just go through exactly what I did. I pulled the sponsored products campaign report for the last 6 months for a brand. And so I wanted to see, hey, how does our performance perform advertising wise on the weekends versus the weekdays? Now, what's really nice is with the campaign report in sponsored products, you can go very far back. You can't do it with sponsored brands video and sponsored display, but that's why they'll use tools and software to store that data for them. But let's go through the results. So what I did was I went through and I pulled, here's all the data, and I highlighted. So over here we have all of the data, right? This is all of the data. Then I highlighted in yellow the weekends, Saturday and Sunday, and then I just filtered that and I created weekends and then weekdays. And then what I did was I basically aggregated that. Hold on, let me turn this off real quick. Hold on. Things like making noise. I'm gonna put it on do not disturb. There we go. Perfect. All right. So weekends versus weekdays. Let me go down here. I just show the results, man. And let me go, why I did this analysis. I've done it before, and I'm sure other people have done it before as well. But with the recent, current economic status, right? Like the world economy is in a crisis. It's everyone knows this. Anyone who's keeping up with the news knows this. And what's happening is we're seeing record inflation. We're seeing record inflation, right? Interest rates are up, and long story short, it's a lot harder for Amazon businesses than it used to be 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Why? Well, because of inflation, Amazon sellers, their cost per unit is going up, right? And there are so many other variables as well. Shipping is up. Everything is up. Because of crude oil, the cost per barrel is up. So what does that mean? Well, if you're transporting products via air or via ship, then guess what? Those ships use fuel. And if the transporters have to pay more money, then guess what happens? They're going to pass that along to the person who buys the inventory. So profit margins are really getting smaller, and we're in a period of consolidation. And and what I mean by that is that people have to start thinking about how they spend their money. And with Amazon businesses, it's the same thing. We have to start thinking about how we spend our money. When everything's going good and the economy is great and everything's going then going up, then guess what? We can test a lot of things. We can do this, we can do that. We can do more like expansion. But now it's more about how do we function a little leaner? How do we be smarter with the dollars that we're using? How do we dial back on wasted spend? And how do we come up with new practices to make it more profitable and leaner than it used to be? And this is one way. So let's go over this data. All right. So I totaled the data, but really what I wanted to look for was the daily average, right? Because if I compare the daily averages, then that's going to give me the more important aspect of this data, because one data set is larger than the other one because it's 6 months worth of data, 5 days in the weekday, 2 days in the weekend. So in this instance, we spend $144 less per day on advertising on the weekdays. On the weekends, we spend $144 more per day, right? We have less clicks, which makes sense because if you spend less, you're most likely going to get less clicks. 130 less clicks. All right. But listen, look at this. Spending $144 less, 130 less clicks, and guess what? 8 more orders. So 8 more orders. So these numbers don't look really stellar in terms of like only 8 more orders, but it's 8 more orders with $144 less in spend. So you have to look at it from that angle, right? You can't look at it in isolation in this instance. You have to widen the perspective and look at the different data points and see how they work together contextually. 8 more orders per day, $1,400 in increased sales. $1,400 in increased sales. Our ACOS on the week ends is 16.4%, and on the weekdays is 13.23%. That is 3 points less. Our conversion rate is 8.86 on the weekdays, and on the weekends it's 7.64%, 1.21 points less. Now, people might be thinking, well, this is 1.21 is not a lot, but you have to think about these are big accounts. People are spending lots of money. On a small account, this might not make that big of a difference. But on a large account, when you're working with larger data sets, these numbers make a very big difference. And so, I'm working to figure out, hey, is it worth pausing? I haven't made a decision yet, because I still want to maybe pull more data sets. I want to work on other accounts with this because this is just one account. And I want to see, hey, like, is this a pattern? Is this a pattern that we can use to make decisions for our clients moving forward, right? And I'm actually thinking of breaking it out Saturday and Sunday potentially as well, because, and also like, how am I going to test it, right? I don't know if I want to do this at the account level, right? I might want to do this at the SKU level and then take one SKU, test it, and then if it does well, take another SKU, test it. If it does well, So when it comes to trying new things, guys, this is just a skill set in yourself, is that don't just scale it out when you see something. Don't be like, oh, I'm just going to try this on everything. Try it on, a smaller data set. And then if it does well, add one more on. If it does well, add one more on. Now, the data is, as you guys know, anybody who spends time with numbers and data knows that it's not always clean cut. It can be very murky. So that's why it's important to have experience looking at these numbers so you can make decisions. But, it's clear in this specific example, and I've heard this from many other people as well, PPC performance doesn't do as well on the weekends and the weekdays. And, is it worth pausing campaigns? We're going to see. I haven't made a decision on this. This video is just for you. This is an educational video for you to, if you are an Amazon seller, you're an Amazon PPC consultant, you're an Amazon PPC agency owner or account manager, or just someone who does PPC for someone else, an employee, you might want to look at this and just say, hey, like, let's see what it looks like, right? And propose the idea, brainstorm, come up with a solution, test it, and move forward. But, this is a way to consolidate. This is a way to figure out, this is one analysis you can do to be like, hey, how do we save money? Because right now, guys, we're in a season of saving money. And I know that, some people are doing better than ever in this climate. I'm sure there are people that are just smoking it. But, and I work with clients that are killing it as well. But I also have some clients that are in a period of consolidation. And we have to take these variables into consideration because, not everyone does well in a consolidation period in an economy. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, please click that like button for me. And if you want to work together, head on over to ppcamsaccelerator.com/schedule to schedule a call, and I can see if I can help you, make your PPC better.